what is up with Kong and blondies? Because in this DC crossover fun comic, this same concept seems to even apply for Supergirl, but just Supergirl just happens to be one of the people that's on his level of power. Seriously, what's up with this staring contest? It's because she's blind. You guys know about Legendary Godzilla, Legendary Kong, the live action versions of them. See, there's versions of them that look very similar to the live action, but it's not necessarily the live action at all. But it does get confusing when they have a Legendary on the little comics and stuff. It makes you think these are the movie versions because they look a lot like them. Like Kong, the one I'm going over in this video, for example, looks just like the movie Kong in the comics. It doesn't help in the comics when they name the stuff Monsterverse, so it really makes you think, is this the live action? But it's not, trust me. Think of it like a what if the Monsterverse characters met a version of the Justice League in an Elseworld story. You know, there's even a lot of similarities to the live action stuff when they're talking about Godzilla, the purpose of Godzilla. They even talk about Monarch, like this, you know, the Monarch organization we hear a lot about in the movies that monitor Titan level beings that are huge, beings like Kong and Godzilla. They even mention it here about how they have information about Kong based on the Monarch files. Just like the movie, they even mentioned Skull Island. I mean, look, he even got the same cut on his chest. You see, we've seen a version of this cut in the movie interpretation. So, yeah, that's why I say it's almost like a copy and paste that version of Kong that's meeting DC characters from the movies. You remember how the live action movies had Kong wield this axe type thing? This is just the nail on top that, yeah, they're definitely mimicking stuff from the movies. Yeah, not much to go off of. Let's get into this Kong strength, shall we? Right off gate, just like the movie version, just from his sheer size, off gate, he should be able to lift something like over hundreds of thousands of tons based on his sheer size alone. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. We've seen him literally wrestle beings or mechs that are similar to size to him in strength, you know, so he can move around hundreds of thousands of tons because he's close to 100,000 tons. He's 300 feet tall. Creatures that one could argue are even bigger than him, we've seen him kind of wrestle, so it lets you know how strong he is. Based on moments like this, with his size, weight, and strength, it's just like a no-brainer that he can take down buildings with his punches. He can hit with over hundreds of thousands of tons. That's way more than enough force to level buildings. You know, his strikes will more than likely tear down a whole block's worth with a single strike, if we're being honest. Look how he handles these creatures here, slamming one. This is light work to his strength. Matter of fact, Kong's punches are so powerful, or just strength in general is so powerful, they talk about how, what is Grodd doing, you know, Gorilla Grodd from DC Comics. They're like, what is Grodd doing there? Is he going to get himself killed? You know, Grodd is like another smart ape type being. You see the size different. You see Gorilla Grodd right here. Yep. We see them scuffle with other creatures right here, for example, on Skull Island. It's obvious they called him, yeah, you're clearly the alpha. Like, yeah, Kong is dominating these different creatures, slamming one and the other. I told you his sheer size is scary just for him landing people flying in the air. Green Arrow has to pretty much run away. Look what he does to these people with a strike. He can withstand just like he can take. It was like a literal Green Lantern battle suit. Like he was mind controlled, so he was switching sides. So that's why they had to punch him. He was under mind control. He withstood a punch from a Green Lantern. Stopped a punch from Green Lantern, literally ripped the arm off of Green Lantern mech, even got blasted, literally cracking constructs with his strikes. He's even got hit from beings that can pretty much turn into him. We've seen him like literally tackle beings. Like, look how large this being is, showing his striking power can put these creatures' lights out. But it's really hard to get an understanding of his strength. We just know he might be somewhere in this universe version of Kryptonian tier. Like he took a punch from Supergirl of his universe. This kind of the same concept with Godzilla, how Superman just couldn't outright beat up Godzilla. I think that kind of stuff should apply for this version of Kong too. They have clear narrative and writer intent that they're supposed to be in that Kryptonian range. This should apply for Kong too. When other Titans, when they was talking about taking down other Titans, like this Titan, for example, not necessarily Kong, but this should apply for Kong too. They said conventional weapons won't work against these type of beings. You need a weak spot. This kind of stuff should apply for Kong too. He's like one of the top tier Titans. If they needed this kind of stuff for these Titans, it definitely should apply for Kong. The people had to use missiles against these other Titans. Even super strong killers like Black Canary who can yell real loud needed an amplifier. Like, yeah, Black Canary who can scream naturally, but she needed an amplifier stated here to hurt these beings bad enough to even do anything. It really depends on where you want to rank them. Like, it's really hard to really get a reading of these versions of the Justice League's power level. We just know that Godzilla and Superman, they can battle each other in raw power. This isn't the Godzilla universe, but like, yeah, usually Superman and Shazam are usually comparable in power. And you know, he has the strength of the gods, strength of Hercules, stamina of Atlas. You know how in pretty much every universe, Atlas has to hold the world. Even if we didn't see this MonsterVerse version of Shazam, this comic crossover version of Shazam do earth lifting stuff, if we assume that Atlas exists and Atlas had to hold the heavens on his back, that's one of them things that seems to appear in every universe. So it's one of them things where I would say that's like a fair assumption. If we was to assume Shazam in this universe, thanks to Atlas and stuff, he can lift the world like Hercules usually can in myth, Myth feats usually are the same no matter which universe. If we assume this universe is using that same logic, this should apply for Superman, meaning Superman should be able to lift the world of this universe. Superman can battle Godzilla, which would mean Godzilla will be in that world-lifting level of raw strength. And guess what? That would kind of apply for Kong of this universe. Without even necessarily counting his axe, there's implications he's in that Kryptonian tier of this universe, this crossover fun universe, when we've seen him getting punched by Kryptonians and Kryptonians can't just outright beat him with ease instantly. Like Supergirl. You know what I mean? There's a lot to think about. I think most of you believe he can definitely level a whole city block. There's a good possibility based on him being Kryptonian tier and that Shazam stuff about Atlas being able to lift the world. He would technically be in that moon-shattering levels of punching power if we assume he can punch similar to Atlas of this universe or Shazam existing and Atlas existing. Atlas simply existing is part of the reason why Shazam is strong. It's just like a common myth thing. Not the most impressive feats for DC powerhouses. Like planetoid stuff is nothing in DC. So yeah, this is still technically lower end, but this is still cool, especially considering how low of showings these characters got. But what do you guys think? You guys think I'm smoking? It's technically speculative, but I can definitely see this being possible because in every universe, Atlas has to hold the heavens. Let's just face the facts, guys. Like name a universe where Atlas didn't hold the heavens in myth and stuff, you know, in DC comics especially. In the main comics, they even talk about it holding the heavens. Holding the world, Atlas, you know, Shazam is powered by these guys. And pretty much any universe, it's a constant theme of him bearing the weight of the heavens on his shoulders. That's basically where I'm getting all this planetary stuff. Of course, this stuff isn't in the MonsterVerse crossover comic, but like this to give you an idea of certain feats should always apply no matter which universe, honestly. Kind of like how the Sentry has the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns in Marvel. That's a part of his character. Pretty much any version of Sentry really has that part of his theme as a bare minimum. It's kind of like in the same concept of the, no matter which universe, the Flash is usually connected to the Speed Force. It's kind of like that for Shazam. No matter which universe, there's always a version of Atlas is usually always holding the heavens or the sky. It would be weird if it's not. Like, that's why I'm about 99% sure this crossover universe version of Shazam, his universe version of Hercules and Atlas have probably held the world too, you know. That's literally a big part of the myth feats. Like, do you think none of this stuff should be possible because we haven't seen this crossover characters do it? Do you think I'm smoking? Do you think DC has too many universes? What do you think? We never seen these comic versions of Godzilla and Kong fight, but if we was assume it's anything like the movie counterparts, which they seem very similar to, they seem like dang near pretty much identical. If we assume Kong's punches can actually harm this universe version of Godzilla, and if this universe version of Godzilla really has the same feats as the movie, imagine what this would mean for Kong and Godzilla of this DC Universe version crossover one. If this crossover Godzilla really could withstand the impacts of the premiering impact, just like the movie one can, based on the lore, a huge asteroid that eradicated most life. You don't even have to be a mathematician to know if something this big was to hit like a planetoid the size of the moon or something, it would shake the entirety of the moon itself. Yeah, sure, this is a what if, because we didn't see this Godzilla in this comic crossover do this, but this is a decent what if based on how close it seems like these versions are to the movies. This comic Kong could possibly be able to shake the moon itself. What do you think? This could be just me, though. If by some miracle you think all the stuff I'm saying is goofy, well, look no further. You got to respect Kong because when one of the Green Lanterns died, one of his rings left, it was gone, and it actually chose a new being to be a lantern. And you would have never guessed that being was Kong. Yes, Kong ended up being a Green Lantern. What do you know? He makes his movie construct axe that he usually makes construct to cut up creatures, giving himself an extra shield of energy. Anything he can do before, one can argue he can do better because he has Green Lantern power backing him up. Out of all the things he could have made with the Green Lantern ring, he just made his normal old axe that we're used to him using. But yeah, he puts in work with it. But it was temporary. What do you guys think? Do you respect this version of Kong? How strong do you think they are? Do you think they're completely equal to their movie counterparts? They seem like they're copied and pasted from the movie counterparts, if I'm being honest. And the movie stuff even already has implications of them having planetary type feats anyway. So all of this madness could be just me, but what do you guys think? Even if I wanted to lowball Kong, I definitely believe his hits should definitely feel like nuclear bombs. He's taking hits from Kryptonians and stuff, you know. It's just hard for me to imagine any version of Superman and Supergirl only being building level at best when it comes to how hard they can punch. Like their punches are at maximum building shattering. You know, it just seems weird with that. But before I get going, everybody, I gotta say thanks for the donations. Respect Kong, though. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.